Let's talk about the woman who woke up during her own funeral in 2015. This story is wild and frankly unbelievable. A man named Balenga Kalala was holding a funeral service for his wife who had just died in a motor accident. And after the funeral service, he escorted the well-wishers and the people who had come to mourn with him till everyone was gone. And just when he was about to call it a day, he turned around and saw his wife standing in front of him. And the words she said to him was, "Surprise, I'm alive." Balenga was instantly shaking. He was scared for a moment. Some sources would describe his reaction as instant paralysis in disbelief. Who was he looking at? Was that truly his wife in the flesh? Or was that a ghost? And if that was his wife in the flesh, then who then did they bury? Now, this story is complicated as it gets, but we'll try to break it down. This is what truly happened. Noella Rukundu was a Burundian woman who lived with her husband and children in Australia. In January of 2015, it was said she had lost her stepmother in Burundi, and so she had to travel from Australia to Burundi for the funeral. While she was in Burundi for the funeral, she kept in touch with her husband, Balenga Kalala. They spoke on the phone like couples would do. And even after the funeral, she continued speaking with her husband, telling him how the funeral went, how she was tired, how hot the whole place was. At this time, she had retired to her hotel room, thinking of a way to prepare her trip back to Australia to be with her family. So during that phone conversation in January of 2015, while Noella was at the hotel, right after the conclusion of her stepmother's funeral, it's not clear, but she may have complained to Balenga, her husband, that everywhere was hot. And so Balenga suggested to her to leave the hotel room and go outside and receive fresh air, which she thought was a good idea. But the moment she stepped out of the hotel room, a group of men pointed a gun at her and asked her not to scream, shout, or raise alarm. Otherwise, she would be dead. Even though it meant that they would be caught, but the bottom line is she would lose her life. Noella froze. She couldn't do anything. Rather, she did what they asked her to do. She was abducted in their van, tied up and blindfolded. And for 2 days, nobody saw her. While in captivity, she was taken to a warehouse where the blindfold was taken off her eyes, only for her to open the eyes and see a gun still pointed at her. At this point, she knew she was going to die. But before that would happen, the gunman told her that someone had hired them to kill her, that they were paid assassins ordered by an individual to end her life. And just in case she doubted, they placed a call to the person who had sent them and put the call on speakerphone so she would hear them bargain on the price of what it would take to take her life. And as she listened to the voice in the phone, lo and behold, she realized that that was her husband's voice, bargaining the price that he would pay this man to kill her. But it turns out the husband did not know that the wife was listening. He was only having conversations with the hitman, who had informed him that they finally have the wife, but he would need to increase the money before they could carry out the act. I guess the men were hoping maybe the man would not increase the money. That way they would expose him. But ironically, Balenga really wanted Noella dead, and so he agreed to the new price that this hitman offered. Realizing that it was her husband who had asked this man to kill her, she fainted. But moments later, she regained consciousness and it was time to face reality. And the reality was these hitmen did not want to kill her. They told her that they don't actually go for women and children. But from the look of things, it's clear that her husband really wanted her dead. And they agreed that they would not kill her. So they gave her a flash drive containing evidence that it was her husband that actually sent them to kill her. And part of this evidence were audio recording, chat recording, receipt for the money transfer that the man made to the account for the purpose of killing her, and pretty much other things that would give her a case and hold the husband to the neck that he indeed sent these people to kill her. Eventually, she was taken to somewhere in the streets in Burundi where she was set free and let go. But they told her to leave the country in 80 hours because even if they might have failed to kill her, they believed that the husband might send someone else if he finds out that she is still alive. Because clearly the husband is also from Burundi and the husband knows people and knows community and know people who could easily tell him that, hey, we spotted your wife. And if he had already paid the money for the wife to be killed and people are still saying that they spotted the wife, he could easily hire another round of people to do it. And maybe this time those people would do it for real. they may not be as kind as the first people. Noella took the hint instantly and began arranging for her trip back to Australia, ASAP, borrowing money from friends and other people who could assist her. Meanwhile, these hitmen had already told Balenga that they had successfully killed the wife, and Balenga immediately went with the story that his wife had died in a ghastly motor accident in Burundi. He was in Australia then, and the only people he could tell were the African community in Australia who sympathized with him, raised money for him, came to wish him well and pray with him for his loss. He then fixed a date for a memorial service, somewhat of a funeral service in respect to his late wife, even though he claimed that her body had been buried in Burundi over there. And so he held this funeral memorial service for her in his home in Australia, and well-wishers came, mourners came. They came to pay their last respect to Noella and also support this man who had just lost his wife. By the time this funeral was going on the 22nd of February 2015, everyone clearly believed that the wife was gone, and his home was filled with a lot of African in the diaspora there in Australia who came to wish him well. Surprisingly, one of those mourners and well-wishers was his wife, Noella. But Noella was at a distance, watching from afar, as Balenga began escorting his guests one by one to their cars, till the very end when the final guest left. Now he was all alone, getting ready to face his new life as a single widower, only for him to turn around and see the face of the woman he had paid so much money to be killed. He froze, and Noella told him, "Ta-da! Surprise! I'm alive." Balenga did not believe it. He could not even walk. His legs were shaking. He even attempted to reach out to her to touch her, and when he realized that she was actually not a ghost and was indeed in the flesh, he began to cry, asking her for forgiveness. Not sure what he was apologizing for, but Noella was done with the bullshit. She quickly called the police, and immediately Balenga was arrested. And he was also charged to court. And during the court case, Noella presented the flash drive with all the evidence and the receipts and the voice notes and phone call conversations she had with these hitmen in Burundi to kill her. Balenga was eventually charged to court and was sentenced to 9 years in prison. Although when he was asked why he wanted his wife dead, he claimed that he had started suspecting his wife of cheating. And when she said she was going to the funeral in Burundi, he thought that was an opportunity to end her life. Noella claimed she never cheated and she did not know where he got it from. Personally, I don't believe that was the reason he sent those men to kill his wife. I feel this was just pure greed. This was just a man who really wanted to get rid of his wife, whom he may have seen as someone blocking the possibility of maybe marrying an Australian woman and living the Australian dream, I guess. But Balenga claimed it was because he was suspecting his wife of cheating. That was why he did it. I don't believe. Some people don't believe, but who knows? You let me know if you believe that that was the reason this man was able to pay nearly $10,000 to have his wife killed. Let me know if you believe that. I don't think I believe that. Usually when you suspect your wife of cheating and you haven't confirmed, you have no direct proof, the next thing you want to do is pay $10,000 for people to kill her. No, I don't believe so. A lot of men usually just get tired. He probably didn't want to divorce the woman. He was probably tired. He wanted a new, fresh, brand new woman. And he probably knew divorcing the woman would be a lot more expensive and would cost him more money and probably split of properties and maybe lose access to the children. And he didn't want any of that. And the best way was to get rid of her when she travels to another country. That way, it doesn't come back to him. But then again, if he claims that it was because his wife cheated, I guess we'd have to take his words for what it is. But I don't believe. And so guys, that is the end of the story. That is how this woman showed up to her own funeral. When I heard this story, I was in total disbelief, but I can't believe that this woman survived. She was interviewed many years later and she did claim that she had forgiven the husband and praised for him. But lucky her, honestly, to me, the true heroes in this story were the hitmen who had a sense of compassion and felt the need to even give her proof of evidence that her husband sent them to do it. I mean, they would have let her leave without giving her this evidence and she would have gone home to Australia and probably still gotten killed another way without even proving that the husband did it. But I'm glad the hitman let her leave and even gave her evidence to pin her husband down and let him go to prison. But 9 years is really small if you ask me. If this man comes out from, he should be out now. What's the time? 15? In a few years, he would be out. And probably he's going to go for those hitmen. Oh, I don't know. I just feel like he most likely would change or move on with his life. But someone who is willing to pay $10,000 to have his wife killed looks to me like he would still want that to happen when he comes out. But probably by the time there'll be no need. And I guess his senses would have come back to reality, or he would have come back to his senses. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts regarding this story.